Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming for the chapter leader office hour. So it is a very special event tonight, and this is going to be the last two sessions that we are going to have for the chapter office hours. And usually, like this chapter office hours is it's only for chapter leaders or chapter members or anyone who is part of the chapter. So we will make it as like a small event where we actually just talk to each other. We don't really broadcast, but we actually recording this, but we always like ask people like whether it is okay if we want to record it, or sorry, to publish it, but we're not putting it anywhere at the moment. So is it okay for all of you if we record it? Any of you having some what is concern? Okay, cool. Okay, well, my name is Yunisari and I'm the VP chapters for ACM SIGCHI. This is going to be my last time in ACM SIGCHI this year, but I have been having a lot of time and enjoying so much. And today is very special because we are having a lot of guests today. So the guests are actually like the candidates for the ACM SIGCHI election for the next 3 years. So, but before we go to what is it like to have a discussion. So this is what we are going to do. We're going to do like a short introduction. We have only about 18 people at the moment. Very quick introduction, and just saying like quickly your name and which without telling whether you are candidate or not, but your faculty or your place of work and which country you are in at the moment. So maybe we can start with in my screen right now we have Pranjal. So would you like to start, Pranjal?
Hi everyone, I'm Pranjal Jain from New Delhi, India. I used to be part of the SIGCHI SIGCHI. I was a chair in 2018 to 19. Currently I mentor them. Thank you.
Thank you, Pranjal. Next one, Arthur.
Okay, my name is Arthur Lubmeyer. I'm basically the chair from the Western Australian chapter.
Thank you. Andreas.
Hi, Andreas Riener. I'm from Germany, Professor for Human Machine Interaction Virtual Reality at Technische Hochschule Ingolstadt. Actually, I have no chapter role, but I'm representing the Automotive UI Steering Committee here, and I'm interested to learn more about this group of people. So I know some of you already.
Well, thank you so much for coming. Welcome to this chapter community. So we have Ethel. Are you still muted?
Hello. Yeah. Hello. Hello, I'm Ethel Ong. I'm from De La Salle University, Manila, Philippines.
Thank you. And we have Rucha.
Hello, hi guys. I'm a chair of Mumbai professional chapter, and I'm also a candidate for VP for communication. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. And Ted.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Ted. I run the Protea Kai with Melissa in South Africa, but I'm currently in Finland. It's a long story. But have a lot of me.
Nice to have you here, Ted. And Soraya.
Hi, I am Soraya. I am currently the Brazilian local chapter chair, and I'm one of the AC for accessibility in the ACM SIGCHI.
Thank you. And Manjiri.
Hi, my name is Manjiri Joshi. I'm HCI researcher from Mumbai in India. I am also vice chair of Mumbai SIGCHI professional chapter.
you, Manjiri. And Andrew.
Hi, I'm Andrew Kuhn. In the United States, I'm a professor at the University of New Hampshire.
To have you here, Mintra.
Hello, everyone. This is Mintra. I'm a PhD student from South Korea. I'm the chapter officer, specifically the webmaster from Bangkok SIGCHI Chapter. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, Aaron.
Hi, I'm Aaron Quigley. I'm the head of school in computer science and engineering here in the University of New South Wales in Sydney in Australia. And I was most recently the general chair for the CHI 2021 conference.
Nice to meet you, Aaron. Adriana.
Hi, I'm Adriana Vivacqua, and I am from the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, and I am currently Sikai Associate Chair Equity.
Nice to have you here, and now we have Maristela.
Yeah, sorry for my webcam, which is not working. But I'm a professor at Politecnico di Milano in Italy, professor in computer engineering, and currently I'm chairing the chapter, the Italian chapter of Sikai.
Nice to have you, Maristela. Regina.
Yeah, my name is Regina Bernhard. I'm currently at the Technical University in Eindhoven in the Netherlands. And I have been CHI General Chair for 2020. And since coming back, I'm also Vice President for Communication on the AC.
You, have we talked, Naomi?
Hello, I'm Naomi from NTT Research Labs, Japan. I am like Vice Chair of Japan chapter. I am going to serve as the paper chair for CSCW 2022, and I am a candidate for VP at large. Thank you.
Thank you. And Neha.
Hi, everybody. It's 5 a.m. where I'm here, so just waking up, but I'm on the West Coast of the United States, and this is so I work in the US at the Georgia Institute of Technology, where I'm an associate professor, and I do work at the intersection of human-centered computing and global development. And I've been the VP at large, and I'm running for the position of president.
You, Kaveh, you are the last but not the least.
Hello, everyone. Kaveh speaking from Tehran, Iran. I'm the founding chair of ACM SIGCHI Iran chapter. Happy to be here. Happy to listen to all of you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone for your short introduction. So it is good to see a lot of people from different countries, from US, from Europe, from Africa, from Asia, from Middle East and Australia and Latin America. I think we have Luis as well here. And yeah, it's good to have, hi Luis, how are you? Okay, well, maybe he's just setting up. Well, the next one that we are going to do is like we're going to invite the candidates actually to introduce themselves. Like you got 3 minutes, and actually you just introduce like what you are doing, what you are running for, and then like what is your the key mission for your work. So that's that would be your thing to do. I'm going to invite you one by one to tell about yourself and the candidacy. And while we are listening to the presentation for each of the candidates, so we get to know them better. So each of us, like, can you please write down one question, any question, and then the way you write it down, you just write down on the chat, and just write down any question. You don't necessarily have to say, oh, I'm going to ask, for example, Adriana, I want to ask Manjiri. You don't need to do that. you just write the question while we are listening to the candidate. Is that okay? All right. Okay, let's start. I'm just randomly like ask you. We're gonna start with Naomi. I'm going
Oh
to
my God.
yeah. You got
I
a
thought-
3 minutes.
Oh gosh. Okay, so I'm Naomi from Japan, and well, I have I think I have a weird background. Like I've never belonged to HCI lab, or I don't have background in psychology or sociology or anything, and my background is applied mathematics and physics. And so when I joined Sikai and joined Kai, I didn't know anyone at all, and I learned from everyone, and yes, people were so kind, and I also had this language barrier, which was very difficult to communicate with other people. So yeah, but people were so kind and welcomed me. So I hope that I could do the same to other people, like people who are not familiar with Sikai, and yeah. So I'm interested in like broadening the community, Sikai community, to like countries which are not very familiar with Kai, and yeah, that's my mission, I guess.
Okay, is all right. Thank you very much, Naomi, for sharing. If you still have like actually time, like 1 minute, if you want to like share any plan that you would like to do, what you would like to have.
Yeah. Actually, well, I did have a question rather than like a statement, but I did want. Well, I got a list of members from Helena. Yeah, and I went through the members, Sikai members, and I started to wonder what a Sikai community is, because there are people who I thought that they are members, but who are actually not. And like there are people like AC serving as ACs and working very hard for the community, but actually not Sikai members. And so if we want to like increase the membership, Sikai membership, I thought the purpose was to increase like the volunteers, but I guess there are volunteers like who I think like who serve as an AC, they do care about the community, and so they're doing their best to like grow the community, but serving for the community. But then what's like what yeah, I wasn't sure like what's the definition of the community, I guess.
Okay, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
sorry. Yeah.
I think your 3 minutes is already up.
Sorry.
Yeah, so
yeah.
I'm not going to pick anyone. So can you pick anyone else, like who is the candidate? Do you know anyone else?
Me?
Yeah, can you pick someone else so they can have like their 3 minutes of talk like you what you do?
Oh, yeah, then Aaron.
Hello. Hi there. So I was thinking about that while we were waiting. So I've been volunteering within the HCI and SIGCHI community for about 24 years. So I think about all the different problems and opportunities that I've faced in terms of running small workshops and conferences like ITS and WIST, even conferences like Kai. I was formerly the VP for conferences within the EC. And before that, I was the adjunct chair for conferences within the EC. And on my time on the executive committee, I helped bring in some of the new programs that the current EC now has in terms of support through the various support mechanisms that we actually have. So I like to think about what is the job of the executive committee, and what would I like to kind of get done if I was elected to this role. And it's really to empower the volunteers. So it's not about all the ideas coming from the top. It's about actually supporting individual members and community members to come up with new initiatives and ideas. And then as those become commonplace and popular, they get picked up by other people. And chapters are a great place for this, because I think there's a lot of innovative ideas that can be passed around from chapter to chapter, from student chapter to conferences. And I think what we have in this coming up period for the next EC is this chance to kind of interconnect better between the chapters and the conferences and the other publication mechanisms and the volunteer pool at large. Because at the moment, it feels to me that the chapters are still disconnected, shall we say, from the conferences and from a lot of the other SIGCHI activities. So for example, when we put out the call for some of the support mechanisms, I remember a few years ago, a lot of them were coming from the conference pool. They weren't necessarily coming from the chapters. And that's, I think, definitely a sort of a missed opportunity. So the main thing I think that what we need to do is to focus on what do volunteers have the time to do, because that's always the limiting factor within anything that SIGCHI does, is to actually come up with new structures. So myself and Regina, for example, have talked about creating this whole new SIGCHI 365 program. And that'll be basically a 365-day of a year program that'll basically interconnect chapter events and conferences and small communities and emerging communities. So it's not just this sort of everyone comes together for a conference for 4 or 5 days and then disappears. It's basically rolling around the clock 24/7 around the world. People can find their communities, they can find their groups and interconnect with those people and actually find new ways to create new small sub-communities within the larger family of HCI conferences and HCI members across the world. So that's it for me. It's basically to empower and support the volunteers is, I think, the job of the EC. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, it's on time.
You just have to set a timer.
Oh, you set a timer. Okay.
I did.
Who do you want to pick now?
Maybe Soraya.
Soraya. Ah! No, Soraya, are you? No, she's not. Adriana.
Adriana, then. Sorry. Excuse me, Soraya. Sorry.
That's fine. Thank you. So I'm Adriana, and as you know, I am in Brazil. And originally, my PhD was not in an HCI group, so I'm just giving you a little bit of background. So I kind of sorted that out a little bit on my own, because I was inserted in a databases group. And working in the EC as AC for Equity has really been a learning experience, and I have to say it's kind of you see the new ideas and you actually try to apply them now to other things, which is great. And how it works. So I think it was a great learning experience, and it has taught me a lot. And I should say that one of the things that I value most is the community. So the community factor, how do we bring people together? And the whole thing of working remotely, see, now we can connect at a distance, and maybe it's easier to create communities, to foster discussions. And so I would be interested in having that happen more. So how do we keep this community going and working beyond just meeting for a conference or presenting papers? I actually have mixed feelings about the way we run our conferences right now, but that's another conversation. And I do think that we should try to get in touch with the communities, the local on the ground communities. So one of the initiatives that we've just started, myself, Luis is also involved, the Latin American Committee. So we're trying to strengthen the Latin America community and build its ties to the larger Sikai community, because maybe we don't have enough visibility. So how do we increase that? How do we sort of bring us closer, both like in a two-way street, so to speak. So, these are the sort of things that I guess excite me. How do we build community? How do we create connections? And how do we actually build new ties, including not just, to Sikai Central, but between the different, so how can we work with other communities, maybe the African community, the Asian community, and other chapters, the European communities, and all that, and sort of strengthen this sort of network of people, basically, who have similar interests and who want to work together, who can work together more closely. So I guess that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Adriana, who do you want to pick now? Next one. I think you're still muted.
Yes, so I guess I'll pick Luis.
Luis? Wait, oh, Luis. Yeah, okay. Hi, Luis.
Hi everyone, I'm here. Well, I guess I'm the next one. Then I'm a professor at the Sonora Institute of Technology in Mexico. Just want to share some background on me. I was the former president. Well, I am a former president of the Mexican Association on Non-Hci, and I've been involved in the several times in the organizing committee of the Mexican Conference on SCI and the Latin American Conference on SCI at different levels. I haven't been, to be honest, really involved with the ACM or organizing committee. It's only the technical program committee at CHI or UVConf, but not more than that. I'm running for VP at large, and basically the main mission that I have is to make the Global South more visible, something that I think it's really important. The community, it's I think it's small, but we are there, not very visible. We are kind of dispersed, and I think we can grow stronger ties between us and with the other communities out there. And so I guess one of the missions that I have is to build a stronger community rather than dispersed groups or networks that, I mean, in fact, it's the way that it works, right? I mean, networks are important, but the community is also important. So I think one way to do that is to foster and to have a stronger community. I have also been involved with the Mexican chapter, and I agree with what everyone else has said, that I mean, some chapters are very strong and some chapters are weak. And for instance, the Mexican chapter is it's a large country, and we only have one professional chapter, and so the people are geographically distributed, I mean, throughout the country. And as Adriana said, I mean, this pandemic has set out new opportunities for connecting through online media. So I guess one way that we can do that is to figure out some ways to connect people who are geographically distributed, such as the case of Mexico or Latin America. That I mean, as far as we can see, I can see our chapters are not very strong as they should. And I guess I mean, I think that would be my main mission, to make a stronger community for all of us.
Thanks, Luis. You still have 1 minute, actually. Do you want to tell like what you want to do?
Well, basically, I haven't really figured that, to be honest. I haven't thought about it for long, but I think I have some experience, as I said, with the Mexican community, and maybe some of the things that we've done to foster the communities can help the Global South as well. I think what is the English word for that? I empathize a lot with what's her name at the beginning? she spoke at the beginning. Well, anyway, oh, Naomi, sorry.
No.
Naomi, she was speaking about the English barrier. So I think I identify a lot of that because it's a lot of, it's one of the problems that I had at the beginning. I also I still have at some point, and I think it's one way to bring other people into the table is to try to diminish or reduce those barriers. I mean, the English barrier. That I think it's a problem for all of us to really get along and communicate. Sorry.
Thanks, Luis. Who do you want to pick the next one? Do you know?
Yeah, I'll pick Neha.
Neha, 3 minutes.
I'll try, though I'm wondering if I can maybe also represent Xiaowen here, so but I'll try to keep it to 3 minutes. So first, let me actually just say a quick word about Xiaowen Barzel, who's my running mate as executive VP. She couldn't make it because this week she's dealing with a family emergency, unfortunately, but I am going to try to channel her as well. So there's a number of things that folks on this call mentioned, and I just want to say that I'm so just energized to hear what everyone has been sharing about the different aspects of the community that they'd like to build, and whether it's about volunteers or about people who are new to HCI or new to the Sikai community. And that's very much also what has been my focus so far on the executive committee. So I've been working to promote the global community support mechanisms that we have. And so starting with kind of revising and redesigning the Sikai Development Fund initiatives and how we've been supporting different groups across, and then the Gary Marsden Travel Awards and such. And a big part of what resonated with me as we've been talking is just the focus on regional committees. And so this is something that actually with Adriana, we were working on growing the Sikai Latin America Committee. And that's in line with some of the other efforts we've had before in the Asia Development Committee case. And I think that is an important bridge to bringing chapters together, because we've been talking how there are so many chapters and sometimes they can be isolated and sometimes it's hard to sustain efforts. And so these regional kind of clusters are a really nice way of including on a smaller scale. And so that's something that I think would really be an important effort moving forward. I want to say that how we think about equity and inclusion is very much also about the infrastructures that we build, right? So whether it's technical infrastructures and how we're thinking about accessibility, but also about transparency and responsiveness and communication and decision-making and how we're including community voices in that. So whether it is about taking inputs moving forward, or it is about having a continued feedback mechanism where we're really in engagement with the community. And so that's something that I think is also going to be really important as we move forward into thinking about hybrid, sustainable conference futures. And a big part of this is also just looking at safety. So this is something that has been coming up increasingly. And I want to just mention that that's, Xiaowen has been working towards that, so towards building equity and inclusion efforts through Sikai Cares, which she co-founded. And I'm gonna leave it at that. Just mention that all of this that we do, I also want to kind of bring that to the ACM. So not just do the work at the Sikai level, but also really set an example for other groups within the ACM to think about openness, to think about transparency, inclusion, and so on. So sorry, I took a little bit longer, but I also wanted to get a word in
Thank you,
for
Neha.
Xiaowen. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. How about we hear from Rucha?
Rucha.
Okay,
Your
hi.
tribute start from now.
Sure, thank you. So hi guys, my name is Rucha and I'm opting for VP membership and communication. I am currently a PhD student at Tampere University, Finland, and I'm in Finland right now. I have around 18 years of experience in the field, and since I come from a professional background and now I'm into academia, I feel and even as a working as a VP, as a chair of Mumbai chapter, I always feel that there is HCI can ACM SIGCHI can be a platform to create a bridge between professional and academia in HCI field, because those are two different, completely two different worlds. And as a membership and communication VP, I think we can create more noise about these things, and we had done few experiments in our chapters, but it has to be in a larger scale. Even these differences are reflecting in education, and which I'm looking at it, and I came to know very recently that it's all over word that there are completely totally differences. So that's the one thing I really want to focus on, creating bridge between academia and professional. The second thing I would like to do is as Andrea said, more focus, or more what you can say, spread of HCI in global South, where HCI is still not a very recognizable field. Though there are a lot of job opportunities, but HCI as a whole is not. Even people ask me what you do, like what is a UX designer or a researcher. So it's not a very well-known field. So I would really like to open up in these areas more, and reaching out to females, and you can see there are a lot of female participation right now also, but creating more recognition among youngsters, young generation will be one of the things that I would like to take as a VP of communication and membership, and having more younger memberships of SIGCHI. So that is my second agenda, and what's the time? Yeah, I'm almost done.
You still have a 6 second. Yes, who do you want to choose?
Okay, let me check. Yay! I'll check. I'll select Manjiri.
Manjiri.
Thanks, Richa. So I didn't really have sort of a prepared ideas about what I would want to sort of do, but I just jotted down a couple of points. So I just wanted to mention a little bit about my journey in the sort of SIGCHI and so on. So I attended my first conference back in 2011, and it was very exciting for me. That's the first international conference that I attended, and it was a really it was a different experience, and till you're there you don't get it. And then and since then I attended several India HCIs and so on, and I have been part of that. So what we keep saying is that it's difficult for people from India and many countries from the global South to find funding to go to conferences every year or often and so on. So this was, I think, before the Gary Marsden Travel Awards were in place, I guess. So when that came around, I thought that's a really good idea. So that was really nice. And then so then we were doing things and so on. And then we organized some smaller. So I was also part of Interact 2017 that happened. That came to India for the first time in 2017. And so that was another exciting experience where you get to see how what goes on behind the scenes of a conference. Of course, it's not as big as SIGCHI, but it was still very interesting experience for me. And but it's a lot of work, right? Even if it's a small conference, it's a lot of work and so on. And then we organized several smaller events like summer schools and Best of SIGCHI and so on. And those were exciting also. So all of this sort of was many of these things were possible because of the SIGCHI funding that sort of became available around that time. And so we could organize these smaller events that really don't take too much, are not very expensive, but still bring in a small group of users, a small group of people, but it's still exciting to interact with 20-30 people who may not have gone to Chi ever, or who may not even have heard of Chi, but they still wanted to hear what research happened and what was published at Chi. So that sort of kept us motivated, and in organizing different events. And then so I'm part of the Mumbai SIGCHI professional chapter with Rucha, and that has been an exciting experience as well. So it's a fairly new chapter, but it allowed us to engage with people more often. So we do summer school maybe once a year or twice a year and things like that. But with chapter, we are doing everything. We are doing things, something or the other, every month. So that allowed us to sort of engage more often, and we learned different things, and we tried out several things, and it gives us more leeway to try, do things and so on. So in a nutshell, what I would like to say, one is that I appreciate the way people who were, so I didn't know that EC existed and so on at that time. So I appreciated these different thoughts that people put in offering travel awards, not just for students, but also for early career researchers now. So that's really nice because I myself am not a student. So that sort of closes down a lot of options for getting, say, funding and so on.
Thank you, Manjiri.
Sorry, I exceeded my time.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. So who do you want to choose?
Andrew.
Andrew.
Yeah. Andrew.
Thank you, Manjiri. So my name is Andrew Kuhn, and I'm, as Manjiri, also running for the position of VP for Finance. And so regarding my background, I'm currently the interim vice president for conferences on the SIGCHI executive committee. So that I think gave me some interesting insights regarding finances, especially this last year. Before that, I was and currently still am actually on the automotive user interfaces, the automotive UI conference steering committee. That's one of the 24 conferences that are sponsored by SIGCHI. So moving forward, what I'm hoping to look at is three different things. So one would be the transparency of finances, and the finances are run well in SIGCHI. I think we're very careful in how we spend money. We are thoughtful. You've heard about a lot of ideas today. People have goals, and they're good goals. And at the same time, as we talk to community members, as I've spoken to conference organizers, it's clear that not everybody knows exactly how money is spent, where money comes from, where it goes. So I would hope to, improve that transparency so that people understand how finances are handled within SIGCHI. I firmly believe in equity and access. We've heard a lot about that today, and I'm going to wholeheartedly work to make the financial aspect of that work for everybody. And then the financial health. That was one of the focuses of I think everybody on the executive committee this past year with the pandemic. And moving forward, again, we've heard wonderful ideas today and throughout the last few months, probably, right? How do we run conferences? How do we organize chapters? What is the online component? What is the in-person component? And there are some financial challenges that go along with that. And that's one of those things that I would really like to also help with, to make sure that the financial health of SIGCHI, which is great right now, remains that way even as we move into these new ways of connecting with each other. So those are the three things. I'm very excited to hear all of the ideas that have been expressed so far, and really looking forward to the next 3 years of what the next executive committee will be able to do. And with that, perhaps I can hand it over to Regina.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. I'm Regina Bernhard. I'm running together with Aaron for president. And already the word president tells you what I do not want to have in the future. I think if we really want to change things, and I have been volunteering for SIGCHI for the last 15 or 20 years, I have been always confronted with Regina is not good enough because she doesn't understand English. Regina doesn't understand what sitting on a hot chair means, or how can she run communication if she's not able to even understand this kind of metaphor? And I think becoming truly international is about allowing people to have differences and enabling people to use their language and their approaches and also their values in what they think good HCI research is about. And as we heard from Naomi, that will be very different for what is valued in the Japanese context, and especially the industrial context. That will be absolutely different from Austria, where we are very hierarchical and we still believe in a king, even if it's not there anymore. And what I learned today is that, especially in the Netherlands, there is this kind of idea that you have to work together and you have to build things on a consensual basis. So you have to talk to each other. And this is what I think the chapters were extremely good at in the past 10 years even, and since Anis is there, even more. Chapters will be key to reaching out and understanding these different kinds of standards and where we are going. And as I'm a professor for, interestingly, systemic change, I think it will be not only by listening to people, it's about really changing structures and changing a way, if we really want to become international, from this automatical way of how SIGCHI was set up to cater a very different community. And even if you think that today we have really nice financial support, things take time. And the Gary Marston Fund was started in 2015. So it was something that takes time to come into place. The next conference that we are planning for CHI is currently 25 or 26. So even the next EC does not choose where we are going to go. Maybe we are able to choose a bit. But for the next years, that's already chosen. So things are long-term. And I think now we have to change things to make it better for the next generation of researchers, to allow them that everyone in all these different kinds of countries can promote their work, publish their work, help education by accepting the differences. And I disagree with the Latin American community that there are not numerous, because I have been to several of the events and to Spanish spoken events and also Portuguese events. I think there are huge communities there. We just failed in the last years to reach out to them and give them a voice. And that's what I want to change. I want to give people a voice, not by only voting and not by listening and communicating, but by enabling a structural change, giving people voices.
Thank you. Thank you. You are so on time. All right. Well, we got a lot of our audience today are very active. We have a lot of questions here. So, but we only have about 17 minutes left. So what I'm going to do is first, I just want to thank you everyone for sharing your vision and mission, your passion to all of us. It's really good to have you all here, because it just gives face for every name that is on the website. And yeah, so the first question, it's probably, I will just start with the other people's question first instead of my questions. So the first question is from Ted, that asks, each country having a president represented at ACM and having a collective multi-country president in the future. Is it a question or a comment, Ted? You are muted. You're muted.
Sorry. It's kind of like a both, because I was in a discussion with a couple Scandinavian academics, and there was a complaint that because they're part of a university, they don't get to vote because they have an ACM group membership. I have an individual one, but they have a group one, and they struggle to vote. And they said maybe there should be individual presidents for each country, and then of course having a multi-person president at the top. So instead of just one or two, a multi-president. I'm just proposing something I got proposed to.
Oh,
That's
okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for the proposal. So perhaps it's maybe Regina or Niha or Aaron, do you want to address this?
Can I just clarify for that? Is it just a representation for the SIGCHI chapters or in general for SIGCHI EC?
For the ACM, so right at the top. They want like a multi-country president. That's
Yes.
what they're proposing.
It's
So
actually,
yes,
yeah. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so ACM, as you know, the new president, Gabriel Kotzis, is from Austria. And she already said that there is this kind of thought within ACM to represent countries differently in different kinds of ways and change these kind of procedures also how SIGCHI might be represented. Because as you heard from one of the statements here, typically the people which are member in SIGCHI, for example, are not the ones which are active in our conferences. So there is a mismatch between them. And the same is due to these kind of hierarchical structures that were set up almost 40 years ago, following a US-based principle because it was a US organization. And currently also in ACM, there's still this problem between either it's within North America or the rest of the world. And this kind of duality should be removed by giving new kinds of voices and having several people representing things. So we would be in line for that to change the ACM and how people are represented. That has huge impacts, and even if people don't want to hear that, but Andrew and so whoever is in future responsible for finances, that will be a huge impact of how ACM is getting their money and how the publication models are running. So that's why it might be a bit slow. So it will not be in the next 3 years. That might be something that takes up to 5 years to get that going.
Okay. Thank you, Regina. I think we're gonna just like go with the each question answered by one person, like anyone in the candidacy can answer this one. So the next question is actually question to Naomi. How do you specifically want to try to reach marginalized group outside ACM SIGCHI? Naomi, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, well, I partially answered to that on the chat channel. But well, there tends to be like a regional community already, even though it may be small or it may be not like specific to HCI, but for example, a little bit like AI oriented, but it has a HCI taste. I think we could work together and approach those people if those people are interested in like a joint event or something. The difficulty is that they tend to have different sets of values. So I think there must be a person who really understands their sets of values and work together. It's not like one community is going to involve the other, but I think it has to be like equal, and like both have to work together and try to understand each other. Yeah, so I think the key part is to find someone who's eager to, you know, to be a bridge, to work as a bridge.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. Well, we got to be a bit quick. How will you encourage or invite people with non-HCI background to the SIGCHI community? Anyone who want to take this question? I think I heard some of the candidates say that their background was not on HCI. Maybe Adriana, do you want to say, or who else? Like, was it someone else?
I can take a stab at it.
Okay.
And I have to say that in Brazil, at least, it's been an uphill battle. I mean, there's been a lot of advocating for HCI throughout the years. So we have the senior members of the community who had to like fight so that HCI would be recognized within CS. It's very traditional CS community or computer society and all that. So it's something that developed over the years. But I feel that now a lot of people they see that there's a need for, even if they don't know it's HCI, they might call it something else, but for, HCI, I mean, you have the AI community asking about, ethics or, human-centered or whatever, and you have databases folks asking about human data interaction. So they're looking for these things. They might not know them as such, and sometimes they kind of reinvent stuff, I suppose, in this. So I guess it's a matter of reaching out to them a little bit, of bringing this HCI vision, say, oh, see, you're looking at this, see, there's this cool research that has been done, and there's some investigations that have been conducted before, and see, there's these other people who are working on this. So I kind of see that there's a lot of emphasis in HCI elements or issues in other disciplines. They just don't see themselves as HCI, so it kind of, you have to deal, maybe it's this identity crisis, if you want to call it like that, where they're like, oh no, I'm not an HCI, I'm a database researcher, and but at the end of the day, you're designing things that people will have to use, and then there are a number of other issues. They'll have consequences, they'll have an impact. So I guess it's finding those points of contact with these other disciplines, and sort of digging a little deeper there, and using those to bring these people in, and to bring contact, to bring them in contact with HCI. And I'm always in favor of partnerships. I would say try to build partnerships, partner up, someone from databases with someone from HCI, someone from software engineering with someone from HCI, and whatnot. And then it kind of, the work kind of flows, I guess, and they see more, they can perceive what values HCI is bringing to their work. Anyway, it's just.
Thanks a lot, Adriana. So we have a question here, but it has been like some discussion here, but I would like to hear what Neha think about that, because it's talk about the large community. It's related to your role as a VP of large at the moment. At local chapters, we try to organize events and meetings, but it is difficult to convey the message that we are part of a larger community. Can you think about initiatives to improve this aspect? It's from Maristela.
Okay, I think I'd like to just say that there's a slightly more general question that we're asking here repeatedly, right? Which is that there is a sense of kind of the core audience that we've been catering to, and then many marginal voices, and we're really asking about how we're going to be inclusive of the margins in different ways. So whether it is people who are new to HCI, whether it is people who come from a more industry background, whether it is people who are not part of the power structures that have been around and established all this while, that is the global north. And I think for each of these, I would say at a conceptual level, it is about both creating the structures that allow for these voices to be supported and to be included, but it's also about a culture shift that needs to happen, which is around creating room for these voices to express themselves and to be able to contribute in different ways. So I think I would go back to, for instance, what Aaron said about empowering volunteers, right? We have people who are willing and able to contribute in so many different ways, whether it is in their student capacity, whether it is to help out with conferences. And I think equitable participation is not just about creating the funding mechanisms for people to go to these conferences, but also to make sure that we create room for these voices to be represented. And so the community support mechanisms that we have, which is around, well, money and funding, that can only go so far. But yes, I think that we've tried to remove barriers to applying to these. So for instance, with expanding the student funds to early career researchers and beyond. So people who have financial hardship, whether they're early career or not, they can actually now apply to these funding mechanisms. Then looking at community support, we used to have these 4 deadlines. And so if you met the deadline, then you could get support, but we kind of made that a rolling deadline. So we just try to keep that open all year long. But I think there's much more that's needed in terms of community and outreach. So really getting the word out, and that involves having a robust communication across chapters, which is what we're talking about. Like, how do we really build these ties together? And I think that there's a lot of work to be done across all of these fronts. So whether it is looking at equity, whether it's looking at finances, whether it's looking at how we create conference structures that include, like for instance with Kai this year, and going virtually and keeping the virtual thread going. So I think these are all the aspects. I would say with students, something that has come up a lot is just how do we create stronger mentorship programs that keep them engaged, keep them involved. And we cater to the students, not just in terms of bringing them into the structures we already have, but thinking about what is it that they would need at this juncture in their life to grow. And I think that goes to Pranjal's question about really sustaining chapter energy with students, is to recognize mentorship roles and opportunities, make sure that they have a path to research careers as they might like versus also industry careers, and then creating opportunities for all of those spaces to kind of coexist. So yeah, it's really similar things across each of these aspects of SIGCHI's existence, I would say.
Yeah, thank you, Neha. I think we only have 3 minutes left, but we won't be able to answer all these questions. So what I'm going to do, like I will put all these questions and circle this around. Like if any of you would like to, like any of the candidates wants to reply to my document, yeah, please go ahead, and I'm going to post it like to the chapter Slack member, or in the Discord as well. If you have not part of the Discord, please join as well. Like we got a Discord for the wider chapter members, and also the Slack just for the committee and officer. And also yeah, so if you want to say something, yeah, please write down your answer and I will send it to you tomorrow morning, like my time, or late today at your time. And yeah, but I from the bottom of my heart, I just appreciate like the time that you have given, like all the candidates and also all the participants today, to be to share and to actively engage in this conversation. And if you do not mind, we are going to put this video online so people can listen again, and you can actually, like, because you are the chapter leaders, and you can tell the your community, like if they haven't voted, they can vote. And basically a lot of the people, the candidates are here, so you can actually reach them personally as well if you want to. And yeah, I think, is there any question or anything else you would like to ask? We are I will be in equity talk with Neha on Thursday, right? So some of the question about chapters, maybe we can discuss it over there, because it's quite related to what we are doing internally. But yeah, we can discuss some of the questions there. And yeah, so if there is nothing else, maybe we should take a picture together if you do not mind. And we can put it online. So yeah, so if you can open your camera and yeah, smile a little bit. I know Maricela cannot make it. You can send your picture and I can Photoshop you.
I'll do it, sorry.
No, it's okay, it's okay. No worries, it's all right. Okay, I'll take some.
I have to put my official Kai 2021 brand on in that case.
That's right. Yeah, it's good. I like the green one, Aaron.
Oh, I don't have that one on this computer.
Okay, one more. We all smile.
Can we wave?
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for this really good evening, and I hope to see you again in a couple of on Thursday then. Okay. Bye.
Thanks,
Thank
Ian.
you. Bye.
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 Don't forget to
Bye, Andrew.
vote and tell
Naomi.
your folk. Bye bye.